Well, no matter where you might be, good Monday to you. It is great to have you here on the Damon Bruce Show on Damon Bruce Plus, and maybe you can already tell we've improved some things. Woo! New camera, so now you can see like the splotchiness of my forehead, some new lights, so hopefully the face made for radio is showing up a little bit better here on video, and it is really good to have you here. It is great to have you after a fun weekend for the Giants. Not much fun for the A's. A lot of fun if you like your major golf championships, having a guy kind of just walk off some Southern California golf course and finding himself in the top 10. We had almost no fun if you were a Laker fan or a Celtics fan, and we will get into all of that. And if you're the Pac-12, you're about to die. We got an awful lot of stuff to get into today. Let's just hop right in. We're going to start locally, and then we're going to work our way out nationally. The San Francisco Giants, man. Okay, it's been a trying year in a lot of different ways, but it feels like there's a little bit of a youth movement going on that always adds a little energy to the team, to the ballpark, and I'll tell you what, that was a fun game yesterday. How many times have you watched Giants baseball and said to yourself, that was fun? That was fun. I'm sitting on the couch yesterday. I'm flipping back and forth. I got the PGA Championship. I got Giants baseball on. And the Giants, they just wrapped up a 5-1 six-game homestand with a 7-5 win over the Miami Marlins. Patrick Bailey hit his first Major League home run, drove in a run, another one with a squeeze bunt. This game is a game yesterday afternoon at the ballpark that it had it all. I mean, it really did. You had, for Miami, Jorge Soler going 4 for 4. He had a huge homer in the first. You just had dudes crushing like 400-foot home runs all over the yard yesterday. J.D. Davis with a 433-footer to center field. That thing was a monster. You had another home run going off the left field foul pole, so you always get that, whenever you get that dong noise, that's always fun. And I'm telling you, like, that was a better version of the San Francisco Giants, certainly a more entertaining version of the San Francisco Giants than I've really put my eyes on at any point in time this year. Now, I hope it's not a one-off for him, but again, I don't know if it's a youth movement, but a 27-year-old pitcher, Ryan Walker, made his Major League debut out of the pen yesterday for the Giants. He worked around a couple hits, a scoreless sixth inning, and picked up a win in his first game in the bigs. You even got yesterday a rundown between third and home plate, one of those, if you're scoring at home, that's 2-5-5-2, 2-5-1-5, 2-5, 3-5-2. I mean, it was insane. I don't think 3 came into play. I don't think Lamont Wade Jr. came running in there from first base, but it was one of those crazy scoring rundown plays. Look, the Giants are now 2 games under 500. Nothing quite special yet, but it feels like they're getting a little bit better, and, juice around a baseball team matters. They got a little bit more juice around them, so that's good. Giants 2 games under 500. They got a 7-game road trip in Minnesota, and then they got a 7-game road trip that starts with 3 games in Minnesota, then goes to Milwaukee for 4 games. Meanwhile, like I said, when it comes to the A's, there will be no fun at all as long as John Fisher is involved. The A's are swept in Houston. They scored 3 runs over 3 games. They're still stuck on 10 wins, and it is off to Seattle, where I'm sure the entire year will turn around against the Mariners. PGA Championship gave us a new, I don't know how much of a household name Michael Block is, but while Brooks Koepka was winning the tournament, Michael Block won the entire country. I mean, I hope you watched a little of it, because Block is a club pro from down in Southern California. He finished in the top 15, which automatically qualifies him to play in next year's PGA Championship. And, is he going to go on and have a career? I don't know. That guy had himself a weekend. And he even said, my life's never going to get better than right here, right now. And he was shown a video after his round from the country club that he's the pro at down in Southern California. His kid took the video. He's crying. It had emotion. He was charming. He was humbled. It was awesome. I mean, when you get to actually watch in sports someone's dream come true, I mean, somebody wins, somebody loses every day. How often do you get to see somebody's dream come true? So it was fantastic. It really was. Brooks Koepka ended up winning, and he kind of won in a waltz. They're calling it a win for Live Golf, since that's the tour that he plays for. No, it really wasn't. It's not like we didn't know about Brooks Koepka and he came walking off some Live golf course and has now won a major. The guy won majors before he decided that he was going to take the money to go play on a lesser circuit. That's what he did. He took the deal. So this is not a great win for Live. I'm going to tell you right now, I saw that Live had the CW cut away from one of its tournaments to now join at the top of the hour a rebroadcast of a now expired, I believe doesn't even air anymore, series, The Goldbergs or One Tree Hill, like whatever the hell's on CW. So the Live is not winning, but Brooks Koepka did. He did it in impressive fashion, but again, while Brooks Koepka was winning the tournament, a guy named Michael Block kind of won all of our hearts. I got to tell you, it's really good to have you here today. We want to thank our sponsors who have certainly helped create what I hope is already for you a better Plus product with a new video camera, some new lighting. Thanks so much to Ike's, an incredible sponsor, an incredible friend, an incredible sandwich, an incredible lunch. I don't know if you got lunch plans today, this week, but make sure you get yourself a sandwich at Ike's. I saw earlier Drew Down, who is one of the Plusers who gets in early, and they start chatting before the show even starts. He says, I'm a little ashamed to admit, but I had my first Ike's sandwich ever over this weekend. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that at all. Don't be ashamed, but welcome to the club. I'm sure it was delicious. I don't even have to ask. I don't even need to have a follow-up tweet or text to find out what he thinks about it. I know it was delicious. It was Ike's. Speaking of delicious, had a delicious dinner on Saturday night with Charles Richards, who is the Blackened Whiskey rep, who has made Blackened Whiskey the official whiskey of the Damon Bruce Show. He is our sponsor of Club Plus, which we are still going to get into with some new improved lighting there as well. My goodness. So we got an awful lot for you today. And look, while we're here telling you to sip on some Blackened, it's absolutely delicious, and eat some Ike's, it's absolutely delicious. I've got some really good news that I just want to share to everyone who has been watching and supporting this. Myself and Jillian were kind of thrown into this little over 2 months ago when a local radio station made one of the dumbest indefensible decisions in the history of dumb indefensible radio station decisions, but their loss is our gain. We are quickly approaching 5,500 subscribers. Again, this is a humble start. We've had now over 1.1 million YouTube impressions. So that doesn't mean clicks or watches. That means people who have actually just seen us on their YouTube page. So like for the first time, I can tell you kids, we out here. It's officially happening. You know, the algorithm is picking us up and putting us in a lot of places to have that many impressions already. We just went over 100,000 views, which is a good number, with over 16,000 watch hours. Again, these are all incredibly humble YouTube numbers. And you know, a lot of people have told me, like, these would be good numbers for year one. This is not even, today is the beginning of the 8th week of broadcasting over here on the Plus. Just our 8th week. Oh, speaking of the Plus sign, we got a new one, but this new camera is so superior, it picks up too many flicks and whistles, so we're gonna get another one. We're working on that too. The podcast has already doubled our first month's downloads. We're going to be over 21,000 downloads by bedtime tonight. That's podcasts. So, still got the cough. I guess that's going to be ever present. But things are going good. We're off to a great start. And I deeply want to thank all of you for doing it. It's really, really just, it's meant so much to myself, to Jillian, our family, and I thank you so very, very much for everything that you have done to help turn this into what I am very comfortable calling one of the new voices in digital sports media that is growing and raising its audience by the day. Thank you so very much. Got to talk about how both the Lakers and Celtics are just apparently getting chumped. I mean, right out of their respective conference finals. The Nuggets will advance to the NBA Finals. The only question is, will they actually sweep LA and do it tonight? That is a game that is scheduled tonight. Game 4 in LA. The Lakers, by the way, here's the thing. The Lakers have any success, oh, LeBron is great. The Lakers have any failure, oh, LeBron is awful, get him off the court. Look, LeBron has a stat here that I'll share with you that is not glorious, but he's not the reason why the Lakers are in this position. It's everyone else that is not along for the ride. And the Nuggets are just a much, much better basketball team. They were all year. They are right now. There shouldn't be much of a surprise here. When D'Angelo Russell scores 17 or more points, the Lakers are 7-0 in the playoffs this year. When he does his far too often disappearing act, like D'Angelo Russell's just a soft-ass player. He really is. The Lakers are now 1-7 when he doesn't score 17 points. So to just blame LeBron and Anthony Davis on everything is to stand up and volunteer the fact that you don't understand what you're looking at here, and the Nuggets are a vastly, vastly superior team. LeBron does have this to be embarrassed about. I saw this. I follow a Get Up producer. I don't watch the show, but if you follow the producers on Twitter, sometimes they'll go ahead and give you a little look as to what they're going to get into, what a graphic that they might be building. How about this? Since the 96-97 season, there are 266 instances in which a player has attempted 20 or more threes in the fourth quarter of a single postseason. Right now, LeBron James's three-point field goal percentage in the fourth quarter of this postseason is 8.3%. He is 2 of 24, and that ranks dead last out of the 266 instances sample size of this occurring in the postseason. The Lakers are not going to climb back into this series. But LeBron does need to climb back into the paint, quit taking threes. But he has been left in a situation where he can't trust anyone on his team to make a play. And if you're LeBron, you're going to trust yourself. You've earned that right. The Celtics. What the hell is going on with the Boston Celtics? I mean, wasn't this the team that had the defensive equivalent of the 1985 Chicago Bears just a year ago, and that's why they were definitely going to beat the Warriors, because no one's going to overcome that level of defense? Now you got a team that is laying down, quitting, and dying in real time. In their biggest you-gotta-have-it game of the year, the Celtics no-showed in Miami. I mean, their coach, Joe Mazzulla, should be fired today. That guy, first of all, he was destroyed by Eric Spoelstra, but this is what happens when you basically have an assistant coach who's been on your bench, who gets thrown into a job he would have never, ever, ever had with a single team unless Coach Fucks Your Wife got fired, which happened in Boston. So now all of a sudden he's taken over for Ime Udoka, unqualified to really do so. He's a glorified Division II basketball coach, and it has showed because Eric Spoelstra is one of the best basketball coaches going, and he knows how to not only out X's and O's you as a basketball coach, but he knows how to motivate his team better than Joe Mazzulla. We don't need to learn how to pronounce that. No, it's Joe Mazzulla. It's just, it ain't happening, Joe. What was Boston thinking of? Replacing a real alpha coach. So alpha, again, he's banging team employees' wives, a little too alpha. Brad Stevens, he made a bad call. Brad Stevens, he made a really good call hiring Ime Udoka. Then you let him go with the scandal, which was also the right call, but the call to hire this guy was the wrong call. And if you think about it, Brad, Wouldn't you rather be coaching the Indiana Hoosiers for about $10 million a year other than watching the Boston Celtics just die right on the vine before they can even be turned to do? You want to talk about what are you going to do this offseason? What are you going to do this offseason, Boston Celtics? They have just massively regressed from a team that, again, best defense the NBA has ever seen to laying down and dying. Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler. Oh, my God. Jimmy Butler is the postseason MVP right now. This guy has just been amazing. Every quarter, every game, nearly every possession, offensively and defensively. He is the most frustrating your offense, pick in your pocket, just jumping all over you defender you could imagine. And he's also the primary leader of the team's offense as well. It's been incredible watching Jimmy do this. It really has. The guy's one of the best watches in all of basketball. And so I don't want to hear, like, if it's Nuggets and Heat in the NBA Finals, which, by the way, it's going to be. I don't want to hear these networks saying, well, this is a terrible NBA Finals. How are you going to sell this? The ratings are going to be down. I'm here for it. If you're a basketball fan, you respect what Miami is doing, what it's done. And if you're a basketball fan, you got to love Jimmy Butler. You also have to love a guy who's a two-time MVP at the peak of his powers, and Nikola Jokic right now has got a real running mate in Jamal Murray, who's just playing out of his mind. Dude, Nuggets and Heat could be a fantastic series. Don't knock it because you don't like the city names. That could be a fantastic series. Saw this in The Athletic this morning, saying, let's just focus on the Heat for a second and the ridiculousness of what they're doing right now. Here are last night's top three scorers for Miami. It was Gabe Vincent, who had 29 points, undrafted. Duncan Robinson, 22 points, undrafted. Caleb Martin, 18 points, undrafted. Of the 7 players to play 20-plus minutes last night, only 3, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Kyle Lowry, were actually drafted. And I know Eric Spoelstra said, look, you're making too big deal out of this. These guys are all NBA players. It doesn't matter where they started. Look where they are now. These guys have been with us since the bubble. They're real NBA players. They are. But you can't deny how unique of an origin story that is for an NBA finalist. 3 drafted players, 7 undrafted players in your 10-man rotation. I mean, try to poo-poo that all you want, Eric Spoelstra. It's a hell of a story. It really is. An unbelievable story. And got 2 teams officially 48 minutes away from the NBA Finals. And if we do indeed get 2 sweeps in the Western Conference Finals, first of all, dude, Philadelphia 76ers, how soft are you if this Celtics team is the team that beat you? But if we do get 2 sweeps here, we got a really long layoff because Game 1 of the NBA Finals is set for June 1st, and today is May 22nd. So if the Lakers-Nuggets series ends tonight and Miami-Boston series ends tomorrow, there's a lot of thumb twiddling waiting around for the NBA Finals that the media will tell you you shouldn't even bother watching, which is ridiculous. By the way, we're lit so well, Alan's saying, whoa, I need some sunglasses. Thank you. And maybe I am too, but here's the thing. I'm definitely the guy who gets a lot better looking at the end of the night in the bar when they turn the lights down. I do look better dimly lit, but here we go. Now you got me. Sorry. One more NBA note to let you know about, and that's the fact that Carmelo Anthony officially retired over the weekend. Now, before you say something as stupid out loud as, well, he never won a championship. Well, he did win a championship in his 1 year at Syracuse. He never won an NBA title. But there are a lot of players who were really good who didn't win NBA titles. There's also a lot of players who won NBA titles who weren't a fraction as good at basketball as Carmelo Anthony has been. I've always said Carmelo Anthony is a guy that you actually had to see in person to appreciate, to really, really appreciate how good he was for somebody his size to play that smoothly and in control, scoring from all 3 levels. Carmelo was a bucket. I mean, an on-ball stopper defender, a guy who played well all the time. No. I mean, he was an iso ball guy for sure. Didn't play well within his system, would take plays off and fade away a little bit. But, I mean, that was at the end. And he didn't have much of a career after he left Denver and the New York Knicks in terms of being relevant. But a 19-year-long NBA career for Carmelo Anthony with just, a handful of credible games at the very, very end. His 19-year-long career actually ended in like year 16 of that, but oh well. 6-time All-NBA, 10-time All-Star, made the top 75 all-time players list. Again, he was a bucket. And he leaves the game as its 9th leading scorer all time. You want to talk about the titles he didn't win? Name the Knick who has. You want to talk about the titles he didn't win? Name the Denver Nugget who had. He was never on great teams, but he could play. And if you can't acknowledge that, you don't know what the hell you're looking at when you're looking at basketball players. Carmelo was nice. No other way to say it, man. No other way to say it. Final NBA note really isn't a note. It's just something to watch for. The Bob Myers decision, which all Warriors fans need to be waiting on here with bated breath. We've seen the news, the propaganda, the PR, however you want to say it, come out. And that if Bob does walk away, it's not going to be because of cash. And that's what I told you before, by the way, that I've always gotten the impression that money was not the Jesus of Bob Myers. It wasn't the most important thing. I think the guy likes challenges, and he knows that it's smart to restart a career every few years or so, get yourself into something new instead of being the guy who's holding the bag when things come to an end. And I just think that when you got infinity options, one of them might appeal to you. So maybe Bob Myers stays. I would lean towards the fact he's probably going to leave the Warriors, but it won't be because Joe Lacob got cheap or anything like that. I really think it's going to be because Bob Myers has other interests he now wants to pursue. So we'll see. We will officially see how it all looks and is said and done when the dust settles on that decision. A story that I just saw, which I couldn't believe, but the Baltimore Ravens, real quick to the NFL we go, are bringing Josh Johnson back for a third stint. The last time you saw Josh Johnson, he was peeing down his own leg in Philadelphia before getting hurt in Philadelphia, leaving Christian McCaffrey to basically be a snap-it-to-the-back quarterback for the near second half of a playoff game. Josh Johnson should never be allowed in another NFL locker room based on what a massive choke artist he looked like when he got thrown into that moment that he's had his entire life to prepare for. The guy's 37 years old. He's played for an NFL record 14 teams. And he can't hit the field because he shouldn't hit the field because he's a piece of shit quarterback. Go get somebody new before you go out and get Josh Johnson. You want to talk about a league that's out of ideas, how desperate this sport is for any kind of quarterback play. The fact that that clown is still around in this league is a joke. Damon, you're being way too hard on him. He earned it. I'm certainly not being too hard on Larry Scott when I tell you that he's the worst commissioner major college football has ever had in its modern times. He might be the worst commissioner in the history of our lifetime, any and all sports, professional, collegiate, whatever. I saw today Dennis Dodd basically write a story for CBS saying that the Pac-12 is almost flunked out of network television. And I just want to read to you. What has long been assumed throughout the industry became a reality this week as ESPN appears to be out as an option to take the Pac-12's primary media rights as the conference continues to seek a new media deal. I mean, there's a chance where I might actually call the Pac-12 network and see if they don't want to stream games here on the Plus. Again, we're over 100,000 views in less than 2 months. Come and get it, Pac-12. You could use it. From an undisclosed condition of anonymity. Remember, I told you I can't say that word. A Big 12 administrator said that this is the first time that ESPN said, we're not doing anything with the Pac-12. Now, they might pick up some games just to fill out a schedule, but in terms of any tier 1 games that have blocks built just waiting for them into their television schedules, the Pac-12 doesn't have a network doing that right now. I mean, their choices are going to be like the CW, USA Network, Food Network, although I'm sure Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives does better than Arizona State, Utah, although that has potential to be an interesting game. But look, I love college football, but Larry Scott, when he was commissioner of the Pac-12, didn't. Larry Scott made more than $50 million during his tenure as commissioner of the Pac-12. He is the worst commissioner in the modern history of college athletics. There really isn't even a close second. He watched his conference take a massive regression in football and basketball while he was focused on women's tennis. USC and UCLA, the most important football brand and basketball brand in the conference, are now leaving the conference due to the lousy deals that Larry Scott made when he was commissioner that can't be corrected. Now it's George Kliakov. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Don't let Oregon and Washington either take less money to figure out how to join the Big Ten or take any amount of money to join the Big 12, because if they go away, folks, the Pac-12 is going to dissolve right into the ocean. What a shame. Hold on, real quick sip. But what a shame that Larry Scott's fingerprints are just all over every conceivable notion of buffoonery that the Pac-12 has gotten itself into. The worst commissioner ever. He killed the Pac-12. By the way, when I said that he was focused on women's tennis, that's not a shot at women's sports or tennis. But Larry Scott came from, like, the Women's Pro Tour. Like, he was really focused on women's tennis and all these non-revenue sports and took his eye off the sports that pay the bills for everything. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Whoa. Oh, Skills Report is saying hello. Sorry, this is Michelle saying, whoa, Damon in full Technicolors. Yeah, sorry, Michelle. But thank you very much. Yeah, this is, what is this, 4K? Is it too much K? I feel like any pimple I get anywhere is now going to be in 3D on somebody's, 55-inch Samsung. So, super duper. I told Jillian as soon as I saw this, I'm like, can we go back to the lousy camera? I'm a little intimidated by this thing. I think I'm too well lit. So it might be time to drop the shades and get into Club Plus. One other quick college story, though, only because it's total buffoonery and shows what happens when you let an idiot on Twitter. Glenn Schembechler, who was Bo Schembechler's kid, the son of longtime coach, Michigan icon, Bo Schembechler, he got a job as the Michigan Assistant Director of Football Recruiting, and 3 days later he was resigning from the job of Assistant Director of Football Recruiting, and he said that offensive actions on social media led to his resignation from the football program, and he was asked to step down by Harbaugh and the board of director or whatever. Bo Schembechler's kid. So, kid, how old are we talking? He's 53 years old. Like, if they're still calling you Bo Schembechler's kid when you're 53 years old, what you're telling me is you ain't done shit out on your own. And the only reason why Michigan hired you is because your last name was Schembechler, and you know you're really bad at being an individual when your nickname is Shemmy. Like, if you didn't get to his name was Glenn, but he didn't go by Glenn. He went by Shemmy. They were so desperate to let you know that this was Schembechler's kid, they didn't even wait around until the last word, the last part of his name. They call it Shemmy Schembechler. Why don't you just tell me? I'm nothing without my father. Anyways, his statement conceded that he engaged in what he called flippant behavior on Twitter, which, are you ready? This is hitting for the stupid 50-year-old white guy on Twitter cycle, basically, when he included numerous offensive and insensitive posts, including several suggesting that slavery and Jim Crow had a positive effect on strengthening black individuals and family. I mean, even if you're trying to allude to iron sharpens iron, using that as your jumping off point means you just might be dumb enough to be Bo Schembechler's kid. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Skills report says, anyone else worried that Ike will animate and attack Damon? No, dude. Love and sandwiches. Love and sandwiches. Speaking of delicious sandwiches, by the way, the Damon Bruce at Ike's is too damn delicious. I'm on my 4th year loving it. Yes. Thank you very much. Curry 900. Like I said, we're hitting a lot of milestones over here. We're doing that because of you, your loyalty, your early adaption. We haven't done any marketing or promotion of anything yet. We're going to start soon because we finally look good and we're proud enough to really want to start putting it out there. And this is about to grow. But thanks to all of you for being here early. Thanks for all of you being such wonderful, loyal listeners. I mean, we just simply couldn't do this without you. And as you can see, there are a couple more steps before we get into Club Plus. So we got to start a little early now. And we got to take this one light and turn that off. And we got to take this other light over here and we're going to turn that one off. Or no, we're going to make it sexy. And then we're going to take this light over here. I got all kinds of switches now. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn that one off. And then, oh, I believe we are now sexy enough and lit well enough for a little club. Actually, I got that backwards. Let me do that. Let me do this one right here. And then I click this. Well, see, I got to learn these things. We're learning on the fly, folks. Thanks for being patient. Here we go. We do this here. Oh, yeah. Now it's feeling Club Plusy, don't you think? We're about to get into it. If you're listening on the podcast, if you tuned in for just some sports today, we gave it to you. We gave it to you more efficiently, faster, and better than anyone, and that's how we do it over here on the Damon Bruce Show. Thank you so much for listening, and please do remember that sports don't build character, they reveal it. And like that, he's gone. Oh, yeah, we're still working the old gags for real. And thank you, as always, to Black. And thanks to my man, Ike. And thanks to all of you for being here. It's great to have you here. We were talking about how you actually got to, on TV, watch a man reach his dreams, for goodness sakes, to achieve his dreams. Michael Block, guy won the country. And he says, you gotta praise when you see someone achieve their dreams. East Bay Ricardo, you are right about that. And True Blue Forever says Block was awesome. And he was. He was great. That guy has changed the arc of his family's ability to do business and create some revenue, having a monster weekend on a really tough golf course. That guy's going to be a millionaire by the end of this year, with sponsors and advertising and speaking engagement opportunities being offered to him. And good for him. He's worthy of it all. What a great guy he seemed. It was fantastic. I loved it. Absolutely love it. Alan says, got to tip my cap to the Nuggets. Lakers have no answer for Jamal Murray. Well, they got nothing. I mean, they just got nothing for Jamal Murray. And Jokic, they're just running a straight-up two-man game, and they're killing the Lakers. Killing the Lakers. It's kind of like the pick and roll really working for the Warriors, but they didn't do it enough, but I digress. Delicious coffee. That man said One Tree Hill. Oh, my God. Vote Romney. It is old, but that's what's on the CW. right? That's what they got. They got the Live Network, and they'll cut away from a Live Golf Tour to put on an episode of I'm not even kidding, it was the Goldbergs. They cut away to see the Goldbergs. I've never even seen the Goldbergs. Yosarian, I see you. Little jangling, putting the particles out there for the Giants. The ganja jar, making me trip out on your face. Like Fear and Love. Is it that well lit? Are we getting all Johnny Depp tripping out? You going Hunter S. Thompson on me here? But thank you, Yosarian. I appreciate it. Yes. Help us improve the show's technology. Help the host fill the ganja jar. Help the host go ahead and get his wife a good bottle of wine. And again, thanks to my man Charles for dropping off more bottles of Blackened when he came over for dinner this past weekend. It was great hanging out with him. What a great guy. We got big plans for Blackened whiskey and the Plus Nation getting together. What is this? Damon's forehead is shiny or the light's too bright. Maybe we got to work on it, Lynn. Thank you. And I also do have a shiny forehead. I have oily skin. I'm not a dermatologist, but if I had to tell you, like, what's the one thing you got, kid, in terms of skin? It's oily skin. Good question here. Damon, have you tried all the bottles of Blackened? I saw there were like 3 or 4 different ones, 3, 4, 5 different ones. Yeah, I have. I've tried the cask conditioned, which is fantastic. There is another signature one that is, I believe, their highest price point, and Charles was nice enough to bring us over a bottle of that. I'm telling you, just start with the Blackened. Just the straight product that is right here. Just start with the Blackened, and then if you want, also pick up a bottle of rye. You start there, and then work your way down the tasting line in future bottles after that. But just start with the straight. I've always said, any Italian restaurant, oh no, wait, there we go. Any Italian restaurant should be judged solely on its first impression of spaghetti and meatballs. Now, no Italian restaurant can stay in, business by just serving spaghetti and meatballs, but no Italian restaurant can ever be truly better than their spaghetti and meatballs. It's where you should always start your journey. Start your whiskey journey with a bottle of Blackened. The least expensive bottle in the Blackened line is where I want you to start. It's an incredibly approachable price point. We're talking like $50, and you're going to find one of the best bottles of whiskey that you got on your shelf, and you're going to return to it for cocktails, for a little just straight up sipping if you want to. You want to put some cubes in there, just go a little rocks. You want to go neat. You'll be happy you did. Speaking of loving them sponsors, La Profesora. Sarah Harmon says, love me some Mikes. The one in Hillsdale on San Jose Ave is killer. La Profesora, who's been with me since the days of 680. Thank you so much for still hanging around. And yeah, that's 4K Damon. That is shiny forehead Damon. Thank you, Drew Down, for explaining to Lynn why I was so shiny today. Do appreciate that. Just kind of trickling through here. I'm out on these streets, East Bay Ricardo. We're getting there, man. That's the thing. So if you want to get the views up, you got to get the impressions up. Impressions are already over 1 million. That means they are getting this bad boy around. Now, what we really need to do is get the subscriptions up and get time spent watching and viewing. Actually, my time spent watching and viewing is kind of incredible. Like the average tune-in is over like 15 minutes. And if you can hold somebody's attention for 35 seconds on YouTube, that's considered like a win. That's why you see so many videos that are 1 minute, 90 seconds long. But to have as the average watch times that I'm getting, it's all good news, kids. It means this is going to work. This is going to work. So thank you very much. Damon, I wanted to see you tweet out Broomhilda. So when the Giants the Giants swept, the Cincinnati Reds, you got Broomhilda. Broomhilda isn't there to sweep away the home team. She's there to sweep away the visitors who get swept. But the A's, yeah, their whole franchise is Broomhilda. Look at it this way. The A's can't afford Broomhilda right now. And let me just to keep it going in the right direction. And I did see how much A's fans appreciated. Apparently, the Pardon My Take guys have officially caught on to what is happening to the A's, and Big Cat and his co-host were doing a segment on the A's, and they basically started picking up what we've been putting down, and that is, as always, fuck John Fisher. That guy sucks. Never Go Full Jeff says, once again, said it multiple times before, I 100% believe this will be LeBron's last playoff appearance. They barely made it this year. They won't be back. Look, they were the best team in basketball right up until they met the Nuggets, who are the best team in basketball. Since they made all those trades, they were the best team in basketball until they ran into the best team in basketball. LeBron, that guy could put on another uniform before it's all said and done. A good way to lose money is start counting LeBron out. I'm not doing it yet. But yes, tonight it could be Les Swept, Drew Down. The skills report says Les Gone James. Les Can't Shoot. It's easy. Hello, Otis Bird III. I see you're there. As always, thank you very much. Somebody here, 82 Atlantic, says Jason Tatum has as much Mamba mentality as James Harden. Well, he's better than James Harden in terms of being a leader and a winner. But he is running on empty against the Miami Heat. And I'll just say this, the fact that James Harden is now walking away from yet another team looking for less responsibility and more shots is about as James Harden as it gets. Guy's a great scorer, but that's where the accolades end. James Harden was a great scorer. Can be still a great scorer. He did lead the NBA in assists. Like, if he wanted to go ahead and be a really good teammate, he could be, but he can't stick around a team long enough to get to know it to be a really good teammate because he has to pick up his bag and leave. When the going gets tough, James Harden is the first guy out the door. It's pretty much who he is. And he's never going to win shit, and neither is Joel Embiid ever going to win shit, because you can't have half your production coming from a free throw line, because that means half your production is going to go away once the playoffs begin. That's just the way the league is. I don't think the Lakers have anything to be ashamed of, but the Boston Celtics do. The Boston Celtics do. Did I say D2 coach? Excuse me. You're right. Joe Mazzello was a D3 coach. What, he came from like Fairfenton or something. It's a school you never heard of. Again, he sat on the bench for a little while, but he didn't do anything but sit on that bench. He didn't get to know anyone but really Brad Stevens, who hired him, but the team doesn't respond to him, that's for sure. They are just not getting anything defensively, and dude, when you see a professional basketball team quit, you see it with your own two eyes. The Celtics were quitting mid-second quarter down in Miami of Game 3, a game that they had to have. Baron Red says, dude, Jimmy Butler is a fucking badass. He absolutely is. Jimmy Butler, in the regular season, he walks around like Clark Kent. But when the postseason comes around, he puts the cape on, and he is straight up Superman. Is Jimmy Butler the biggest star that played at Marquette? Don't forget about Dwayne Wade. Don't you forget about Dwayne Wade. There's talk about what he might have done with Rachel Nichols. I don't think he did anything with Rachel Nichols. Be nice. Be nice. So, look, it's something else, this NBA Finals that we're going to get. And you will. You watch. The networks will spend all this time telling you, like, oh, it's going to be a poorly rated NBA Final. Here's the deal. I don't care. I don't care how many people want to watch the NBA Finals. I do. I would watch any two teams meet in the NBA Finals. What would be the least sexy NBA Finals possible? Utah Jazz versus Orlando Magic? I'm watching that. And I'm watching it without complaining. Should it ever happened. I got to get the blackened light off my neck. It's making the back of my neck hot. Maybe it's all this new lighting we got. Make sure you pick yourself up some. It's fantastic. Yes, this is true. That Rachel Nichols rumor, not true. But did y'all hear that Jimmy Buckets was making coffee in the bubble? He wanted $20 a cup because he knew people could afford it? Yeah. Dude, Jimmy Savage. I love Jimmy Butler. I love everything about him. I love the story of him practicing with the Minnesota Timberwolves and basically call everyone a bunch of bitches in practice as he's out there crushing them with G Leaguers. Basically looked at Karl Anthony Towns, called him something nasty, walked off the court. Ooh, jingle jangle here on a Monday. Drew, thank you so very much. Happy to see your success. Denver just not succeeding because of Jokic, but because they played together for several seasons. Nuggets v. Heat will be a good finals. I completely agree. And again, it's not just Jokic. Jamal Murray is playing out of his mind level basketball to the point where Jamal Murray at Kentucky was a little overrated. Then he got into the league. He was underrated. Then for a minute there, he got properly rated. Then he got overrated. Then he got hurt. Then he disappeared. Then we kind of forgot about him. And now he's back, and he's just a hell of a player again. It's a great story. Jamal Murray's just been cooking the Lakers. Just cooking. Is Carmelo Anthony the best basketball player ever out of Syracuse? You know, I'm sure there's some Hall of Famer whose name I'm just forgetting right now, who's, played in a grainy black and white type of era. But he's got, yeah. I mean, I would say, who else are you going to throw in there? Hakeem Warwick? I'm sure I'm blanking on some really good names, some important names. But Carmelo would be my go-to. Absolutely. Ronnie Cycli go to Syracuse? Either way, Carmelo's better than Ronnie Cycli. Kobe Bryant always spoke highly of Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, Alan. The real ones, no. The real ones, no. Speaking of the best player out of Syracuse, that was Jim Brown who passed away over the weekend, right? Jim Brown, the all legendary NFL running back for the Cleveland Browns, one of the great lacrosse players of all time, Jim Brown. Rest in peace to a legend. A long, complicated life for Jim Brown. Starred in some great movies, too. Dirty Dozen. I love that movie. I think Lee Marvin's in that, too. You look like you'd be a big Lee Marvin guy. Huh? Anyone? Reservoir Dogs? You look like you'd be a big Lee Marvin guy. Let's see. Oh, another thing I got to tell you about? A movie I watched over this weekend? Air. I saw the movie Air. Okay, so you don't have to like basketball, Michael Jordan, or sneakers to really like the movie Air. It was phenomenal. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon did a hell of a job with it. They really did. And even though Matt Damon doesn't even try to talk like or look like Sonny Vaccaro in any way, he wasn't going for it, so you can't say he missed the mark. He wasn't even trying. A-plus movie. It works on every level. If you haven't seen the movie Air, see the movie Air. I meant to put that earlier. I might have to do that in the podcast version of tomorrow's show, the Damon Bruce Show portion of this, before we get into the plus, to share about how good it was. Carmelo Anthony was never much of a defensive player or a good guy to play, a concept of team basketball, but he was a bucket. And remember, he came into basketball in an era that evolved back into a team basketball era. It was a very much individualistic league when he joined it. And he was fantastic at it. He really was. Lots of people just checking in here. Lots of people talking to each other. That's the thing. There's a lot of chat conversations that are happening in between people, and I'm trying to just quickly kind of get through them. Looking. Little talk about the Pac-12. Stanford and Cal to the Mountain West. I mean, look, man, I don't know what's going to become of this conference if they seriously don't have a major TV deal and have already lost USC and UCLA. How are you going to secure a big deal without USC? I mean, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. Ooh, well, that should be, speaking of absolute disasters, T from the 203. Damon, I got you on the 40-incher. That's a lot of Damon Bruce. I apologize. As long as it's at 3K, we good. 3K subscribers, or like, is that a resonance of HK, 4K, 3K? I don't know. Again, it's a really good thing I'm married to Jillian. She does all the technical stuff. And by the way, we got more bells and whistles coming. More bells and whistles coming eventually. Got a lot going on here. Oh, and there she is. She keeps trying to improve it. Honey, you are improving it. No doubt about it. Never go full Jeff again. If that cardboard cutout could talk, the things it sees when the plus is loose on the whiskey. Yeah, we have a little blindfold we put on Ike's. No, I'll tell you right now. Ike could be down, partying, no doubt. La profesora. I'll tell you what, you're a teacher. You don't ever give me another dollar, la profesora. You are incredible at what you do, what you've already given back to your your community. No. You go ahead and keep that hard-earned money yourself. Teachers should all be paid like CEOs. And a lot of CEOs, especially the one at Odyssey, should be paid like a teacher. So you go ahead, and I thank you so very much. You don't ever need to give me another thing, la profesora. But it's very sweet of you. Thank you very much. So let's see. Drew, because we were talking about the Live Tour. It's going to be very interesting to see when the Live guy's contract is up. They're going to find out that the Saudis don't negotiate like they used to. How can you play with no? Oh, no. See, now hold on. I don't think it's going to be quite like that for them. But look, they took a level of, you want to call it corrupt money that they're comfortable taking to play less golf on an inferior circuit. It's not going to survive. Did you see that Liv has already decided to make the choice? They're no longer going to share with the United States any ratings data. It's that bad. Here I am bragging about my 5,300 subscribers or wherever we're at and my 100,000 views in 2 months. Like, if you feel good about your numbers, you share them. When you basically say, yeah, we're not going to talk about our ratings anymore. It's like Jennifer Aniston in Office Space. She didn't want to talk about her flair. She's not proud of it. Damon setup's trippy, baby. You know it. You know it. Somebody, because I was speaking about that old station for a minute, Skills Report says, speaking of 680, did anyone announce 680 was going to be closed last night at the 580 junction? Found out the hard way. Apparently, there was a multi-fatality crash out there that just had a lot of time to pick up and clean up. And, those poor people. Those poor people. But there was a terrible crash that is affecting Bay Area traffic, maybe even still. That's how bad it was. Oi, oi, oi. Summer Madness, a little cool in the gang. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody in the history of Bay Area sports talk radio has ever had better taste in music than your blue-eyed soul brother right here. It's something we prove on AMP. I might have to go and put the Lakers away on AMP tonight a little bit later on. And that is right. I spaced on his name with Big Cat. PFT commenter. You're right about that. You are right about that. Michelle Haberman has been rolling with Damon for a really, really long time. The Damon Bruce Show. I didn't mean to refer to myself in the third person there. That's obnoxious. But she's been listening to my radio show forever. She used to come out to Oracle Arena when the Warriors stunk on ice. And she would dap up me and Gianna doing shows from out there. Plus Force is growing. It is, Michelle. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Really, really means a lot. Thank you, as always, to you, Otis Bird III. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Thanks to all of you for being a big part of this. Look at this. Jingle jangle. I'll take a diller from the postman in Capitola. Thank you very much, postman. You give generously and often. I appreciate that. For a minute here, Carmelo was had an incredible Olympics. He did. He would have great Olympics. Hakeem Warwick liked the shout out. Or the skills report, like the Hakeem Warwick shout out. Johnny Flynn, I almost said Johnny Flynn too, Drew Down, but Johnny Flynn is not one of the greatest players ever. He just had a great run, especially that 5 overtime game against UConn. Here's the question from Jeff. Has there ever been a sports death that had an impact on you? R.I.P. Jim Brown. I mean, there have definitely been ones that have, hit you right in the heart. I've definitely, anytime a young player passes away, that hits you. But I've always said that, and this is a conversation that I've had with a buddy of mine, GQ, we're officially going to feel like old men, and our youths, our childhood, our youthful enthusiasm is way behind us when Michael Jordan dies. When Michael Jordan passes away, that's going to be it. You're officially an old man when that happens. So hopefully Michael's got plenty left in him. And by the way, see the movie Air. It was fantastic. East Bay Ricardo, seconding on that. Air was great. UC Steve, there you go. Yeah, watched it last night after the Boston game. You probably got better basketball, even though there's hardly any basketball in Air. There are 2 particular scenes. It's Matt Damon breaking down the 82 championship game shot from Michael Jordan, and then the actual pitch he gives to Michael Jordan, who was very hesitant to sign with Nike. It was fantastic. It was really, really good, and you are right, because he steals every scene he's in. Chris Tucker is great in the movie. He should have been in it even more. Apparently, Michael Jordan, to agree to have this movie done, said that he wanted Chris Tucker cast as this guy who was, I don't want to say, I'll say it. It looked like he was the black guy that Nike had around, so they had a black guy should they ever get into a basketball meeting. He looked like he was very much there to fit the only element of diversity that the company had at the time, being based out of Beaverton, Oregon. He now has gone on to run the Jordan brand. So this is a guy who meant an awful lot to Michael Jordan. Dennis H. says, I just ran into the postman in Capitola at Whole Foods. He had you streaming in his pocket. Catching you live, Dennis H. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very, very much. AJ Cruz, I certainly appreciate you. Notice Bird, here we go right here. Boom. No more Jack in the Box tacos. Get some legit ones today. Oh, Jordan Poole. People talking about the financials of my last station. Yeah, it'll probably mean more cuts coming. I saw that they got one of the most rinky-dink possible kind of remote setup, and I feel bad for everyone involved. I really do. I almost feel a little lucky to get the hell out of here. We'll wrap up with this. Skills Report says, Damon, you're so right. There aren't many celebs whose death I actually cut onions for, but when Ricky goes, I'm probably done for 3 weeks minimum. Well, Ricky going to live forever because that's the way Ricky wants to live. At least I certainly hope. I'll tell you, the actual, and I really do mean this, the last celebrity death that made me really cry is when Mr. Rogers passed away. When Mr. Rogers passed away, that was such a key element of my childhood. That one hurt. That one hurt bad. So to end on a fun note, geez, I probably should have stopped before I got there, but R.I.P. Fred Rogers. If there is a heaven and that guy isn't in it, none of us are getting in. But I thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, this is incredibly cool that we're doing this, and it's actually working. And I'm going to be a mess when Bob Barker goes. Yeah. Wept a little for Ray Fosse. I certainly felt terrible for Ray and his family. I'm just going to leave you with this one here from 82 Atlantic. Bay Area sports radio sounds like amateur hour without you. Well, in many, many ways, I agree. There is an element to an 18-year career that once it's gone, maybe you start appreciating it. We ain't gone anywhere. We're right here. We're kicking ass, and it is really, really good to have you here. Kobe, a lot of Kobe coming in here saying, that was a big one. That was stunning. That's one that really brought the world to a screeching halt. I didn't really cry for Kobe, but when I heard about everyone else that went down in the helicopter and his daughter, that's when it just went, that was heartbreaking. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It really means an awful lot to have you here. We're beginning week 8, and we're doing it hopefully looking better, lit better than ever before. Speaking of getting lit, go ahead, get lit this afternoon. It's a Monday, but, it's California, so be California sober throughout your entire day. And thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out here on Club Plus, and please do remember that you don't have to go home. No, indeed you don't, but you can't stay here.